What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So today we're going to check out the prices of Azur Lane before the reprint happens, and I think this would be fun and a good video to do because we can speculate on what we may think might happen to the prices, and then we can do a video after the reprint happens and actually see what happened and maybe talk and think about the reasons as to why things do whatever they do. So the reprint is, from what I remember, they mentioned it was due around mid-June. I know they extended the pre-order window for ordering those pre-orders for the reprint, so I don't know if that will have an effect as to when we actually get this, but originally it was mentioned around mid-June is when the reprint will come out. Now obviously Azur Lane was literally one of the best and most popular sets from 2023, like in terms of sales volume it was incredibly high, and then in terms of prices, sealed product just started to shoot up very quickly, hence the reprint. You know, boxes sort of doubled in price, and then, you know, eventually we got a reprint announced, and in that reprint announcement were silver signatures on that reprint. So we have a way to differentiate between the first print, which will be gold signatures, and the second print, which would be silver signatures, and there have been many sets in the past that have done the same thing. But I think it'd be interesting just to look at where prices are right now just before the reprint happens, and then we can come back to this later and see what actually happened. And not only that, we can also just look at, since the reprint information has come out, what have prices been doing? Like, what are people speculating on certain things? So obviously the most important thing is, I'm filtering these by like highest price, but I think the thing we need to obviously mention first is this reprint is booster boxes only, and some of the most expensive cards in the set is from trial decks, right? There's 4 different trial decks, so there's lots of SPs from trial decks. Now this one right here at 1000 USD, that is a booster box card, so obviously this card will be available with a silver signature when the reprint comes out. But these cards here that have -TE in the code of the card, so as you can see, these ones are just this -E, -E. But yeah, if it's -TE, and I don't know if anyone watching this knows, in the comments let me know, but I'm guessing when it's -TE, I've always wondered why it's TE and not TD for trial deck. I assume it means stands for trial deck exclusive. That's why it's TE, because cards that you get in the trial deck you can't get in booster boxes. So literally every single card in there, generally it's only from the trial deck. I'm guessing that's what it stands for, but I'm just really curious if anyone actually knows that. So yeah, anything with -TE, that will be a trial deck card. So this one right here is a trial deck card, last sale $900 US. If we just compare it to this one, the most expensive card from the booster box, so that actually has confirmed sales that are higher than that. Now let's look at when that was. So last 3 months, as you can see, it has a big jump, and again, that's probably because of the reprint to a degree. If we zoom out, you can see that it started off, actually let's go further back as far as we can. So as you can see, it started off around between 600 and 700, eventually went up a little bit, I guess, as more people wanted to open this, collect it, and then sealed products started drying up and getting very expensive, potentially pushes the prices of the cards up a bit higher as well, so that started to go up. But yeah, as we can see, so around about here, it was in March when the reprints were announced, and for whatever reason, in between April and May, we've had quite a big increase. So let's look at, there was only 3 sales here, so that would have been before the reprint. So I mean, to be fair, even then there was a sale at over 1,000. And then again, yeah, to be fair, there's not much, there really isn't that much volume on this card. I mean, since the reprint announcement, I think this one here is the only sale, which is the same price as it was back then. So yeah, not much movement. I guess not many sales to go off really. And then obviously, yeah, we've only got 2 of them listed. So essentially, if you're opening the booster boxes, that is your chase card. That is the most expensive card that you can get. And obviously, the reprints are extremely likely to follow suit. Now, silver signatures are likely to be cheaper and less desirable. They're essentially 2nd edition. Now, I know that when this is silver, it will go with the card really well in terms of the colors and things like that. I don't think that's ever enough though for people to want to pay the same or more than the gold signature, even though it technically in a lot of people's eyes will look better on this card. It's never been enough in the past to make that more expensive. It's always generally the silver signatures will be cheaper than the gold. Now, this was a set that had lots of SPs, lots and lots of signed cards, and a lot of them were worth a fair amount. So as you can see, these ones are out of stock actually. I think it's worth talking about the trial decks because these aren't getting reprinted, right? The reprints happening, these come from trial decks. There won't be a version of this card with a silver signature, right? So essentially, as a set as a whole, the trial deck SPs are going to be more rare in that sense, right? Because you can't get a cheaper alternative of the card. You can only get that original gold signature. But again, here's a sale prior to the reprint announcement, and then we've got one here extremely recently, 2 days ago, for $900. Now, there's not much volume to go off here. For those of you that don't know, a lot of Weiss sales happen privately, whether that's on through the Weiss Facebook group, Discord. But yeah, generally, I would say the majority of sales do happen privately. Obviously you're going to get sales here on TCG Player, and potentially the odd few on eBay as well. But yeah, based off that, like, it doesn't really look like things have been moving too much. Again, that's another trial deck SP. But yeah, no real changes there in my opinion. Just the general sales here and there that go up and down slightly. We've got a booster box SP, so this was typically always an expensive card, mainly because of the artwork. But let's take a look and see what that's done. So yeah, there hasn't been sales in a while. There hasn't been any sales on this card on TCG Player since the reprint was announced anyway. And we've actually got a listing at sort of 500, so it's almost as if prices have kind of come down a little bit on that one, in terms of, there was a sale at 700 at one point. But when there's only a few sales, it's really hard because it kind of feels like there's not enough data there to solidify it. I think, obviously, generally speaking, silver signatures will come out. Potentially, that could devalue some of the gold cards. People that wanted the gold signed cards. Let's say this one, for example. Let's say you can get the silver signature for $500. So sometimes that might devalue and take buyers away from this card with the gold signature because they're settled for the cheaper version. Sometimes, there might be people in Weiss that have come in recently and they weren't around when this set first came out. So potentially the reprint attracts more people back into the set. Generally speaking, they're probably going to pick up the reprint boxes if they want to open things and have fun doing that. But occasionally you might get the odd person who then wants to buy some of the original first print gold signatures. So it can increase a little bit of a demand there, I suppose. But yeah, I think let's look at case prices actually and see what's happening with that. So in the last 3 months, right, so let's actually look at sales, because I feel like sometimes when there's not enough data, this isn't always, it just doesn't seem as accurate, especially with market price and things like that. That's normally, market price can also be based off of the cheapest available. So As you can see, the last few sales aren't the market price. But let's look at the data. Let's look at all of the recent sales we've got. So the announcement was March, I think it's here, March 18th. So all of these sales here are before the reprint. So it's gone down in price, which is interesting. I wouldn't have expected it to drop so much after the reprint was announced. So this is a sealed case of the original print. The first print, you pull in SPs from this case, they're going to be gold signed SPs. If anything, I thought the value would have gone potentially up, right? I mean, it's significantly lower. So what could have caused that? What could have caused that to drop so much after the reprint was announced? So playsets. So I guess something to talk about. It's only the SPs that have that change. So whether you're pulling SRs, double rares, triple rares, whatever, all the other cards are going to be identical. So in terms of playsets, or if those double rares are really expensive, then potentially that takes some value out of a sealed case, I suppose, because there's going to be more availability of those lower rarity cards. But yeah, I'm very surprised to see a significant drop in price from that reprint, because at the end of the day, the gold ones are generally going to be the more expensive cards, the more desired cards, right? So I'm very surprised. And then obviously this 3-month chart is kind of showing the opposite. It's showing that it's gone from 1500. Right, how, yeah, this is what I kind of don't understand with this chart. Maybe I'm missing something, but how does the last 3 months, I mean, I guess it's, yeah, the last 3 months should have gone from 17, and then the chart should have gone up to 2.2 and then back down, but it's completely different. It's a completely different chart here. It's I don't know what's going on with that. But yeah, I mean, these are the sales, right? So we can see that since the reprint was announced, there have been this many sales. People buying quite a few cases as well. So potentially some speculative buying here, because I don't know. It seems cheap when someone had just paid that much, and then all these other people paid 2,000, and this was before. Like, there's a desirability in owning that first print case because there's now a second print. I don't know. I think it will be really interesting to see what happens, because I didn't expect to see that. Let's just check the double rares and make sure there isn't some like really crazy expensive double rares, which means if you open a case, it's worth a lot less now. Yeah. Okay, so double rares. I mean, it's a fairly even spread. Like, you've got this one that's quite expensive, but there's always going to be some double rares that hold a fair amount of value because they're playable. And then I guess like these ones down here, you've got some double rares that aren't really worth much at all because they're not very playable. So this doesn't seem to me like it would be enough to impact a case price. So yeah, I don't know what's going on with those case prices, if I'm honest. Maybe the demand and hype kind of just died down, but it just seems it's a huge, I mean, it's not a coincidence. Literally the reprint was announced and the price just slashed immediately and has stayed there. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments about that. But obviously the whole idea of the video is to essentially capture the prices, right? So when I do a follow-up video once the reprint has come out, we will be comparing it to what we're seeing here. So we will not only will we check this card and what the gold signed version of this card is worth, if there's been any sales, but it will also be really interesting to see what price the silver version of the card lands at, and also what happens with these. Because I mean, as you can see, actually the trial deck SPs, right, those are those two there are sold out. There's one available for this one, and there is another one, so 3 available of this. So I think, yeah, I mean, that one's sold out. That's a trial deck SP. So the most expensive trial deck SPs are sold out. So the Prince Eugen and the Baltimore, they're well, Prince Eugen especially was definitely the most expensive. This one being the second most expensive. They're both sold out, and obviously a reprint. There's not going to be any more of these cards. They're not in the reprint. It's only the booster boxes. So it'd be interesting to see if we see any movement. I mean, when did they actually sell out? Did these sell after the reprint? So one was, yeah. But yeah, it's just not. It's kind of not enough volume to, I feel like, to accurately. So what's happened here? Someone, okay, that's got to be a buyout, right? Someone's bought. There's been on one day there's been 4 sales. That definitely looks like a buyout. I mean, you can see the volume of usual sales for Weiss Schwarz, and then suddenly, you know, sometimes it's like 1 a month, and then suddenly 4 of them are purchased. On the same, oh no, not even 4, yeah, no, 4 were purchased on the same day. So yeah, that's I feel like that's definitely a buyout. Someone's being speculative. They know it's not going to be in the reprint, so they're buying them all up. So it'd be interesting to see if any of these pop up for sale after the reprint or anything like that. But yeah, I find this interesting. I mean, especially the booster box price. I can't quite figure out what that's about. If I'm honest, I would have almost expected the opposite, that it would have gone potentially up a bit further. Let's just look at sealed boxes just to see if it follows the same thing, right? So sealed boxes, what have they been doing? I mean, there's quite a lot of sales because obviously these are a lot cheaper and a lot easier to get. So let's go back to before the reprint. We've got 100, 130. Right, reprint was the 18th. So we've gone before reprint, after reprint. So I mean, realistically, it hasn't really changed that much. Like they're kind of similar to these figures before the reprint. We went down actually to just under 100 for a little while, and then yeah, kind of back to where we were, 100 to 130, and I think by the looks of it kind of stayed that way. Dropped a little bit. We're not seeing 130 anymore, so we're seeing sort of 100 to 110 consistently for the last month. So maybe it's come down in price very slightly. It's gone from, probably come down about an average of $20. I mean, the chart here seems accurate from what I could see compared to the other chart, right? It's kind of floated around here and come down very slightly, whereas the cases, they've shot down massively. So yeah, honestly, I can't really think why that would be, other than like a playset dropping in value massively, but a lot of that value isn't coming from the playset at this point, because it's just a case of, yeah, I find that really strange. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. Maybe you've got an idea as to why it has come down so much, and let's see what happens after the reprint. Will the original case continue to stay down at that lower price? I mean, it's still not a low price, you know, it's not like a retail price. It's still high. These cases would have been about $900 when they came out, but yeah, will it stay there? Will it go down, or will it go up? We will see once the reprint happens and we revisit. So make sure to subscribe to see that video. I hope you enjoyed it, guys. Please hit like if you did, and I'll see you in the next one.